So welcome to another edition of How to Fix It Yourself with Dave and Dave. Today we're working on the 2001 Pathfinder. We're going to be looking at fixing some issues going on with the driver's side rear door that has to do with the window. So one of the items we're going to be dealing with is the window regulator, because the window is getting really slow. And the other issue has to do with what they call the window runner, which is the rubber that goes around the window. That cracks and separates and creates noise issues as you're driving down the road. So we're going to go ahead and replace that rubber before it completely disintegrates. So to begin to be able to replace the window runners and the window regulator in here, we have to get into the door panel and remove the door panel. So from out here, there's three things that need to happen first before you can take the door panel off. This trim piece here needs to come off. You've got a bolt that sits under this cap right there that needs to come out. There's another bolt that sits right under this, and you need to pop the window control button holder off and separate the electrical. So we've already popped that off. We're going to take this off, and then we'll be able to get into the start removing the door panel. So now we're going to go ahead and remove the clip here, and you want to be careful because the plastic is getting old, and it's going to be really hard to replace that plastic. So just kind of work at it gently as best you can. Oh. Come on. You can hear it clicking, trying to get out. I'm trying not to put too much pressure on it because this old plastic will crack. But once we kind of get it going, there we go. All right, now it's coming off. All right, so it's come off pretty well. I think we've got all the actual edge clips still available to it. So it does take a little bit to get this to come off. So now we're going to go ahead and take off the door handle piece. And using a small screwdriver, press down on that clip and push that and push it out. So now we've got that released, and now we can get at the two screws that are here and here. I know in some videos you'll see people using power tools to remove this kind of stuff. I kind of am reluctant, and the engine and the rougher parts, I'm good with using power tools. But often in these door areas, especially with older plastic, you can really cause some damage with a power tool if it's not if you're not real careful with it. The other thing I want to mention is a lot of people will think, oh, well, I need to finish replacing or moving all this area here, this whole door handle. Don't do that. It's got screws on the back side, and you're just going to tear up your door panel if you force it apart. So just go ahead and leave all that there, and that'll take care of what you need to get the door panel off. Now, in removing the door panel, there'll be clips along here and on the back side over here. The trick is to kind of find where the first clip is. So you notice I'm kind of pulling the panel here a little bit with my fingers, and I can pull the panel here, and so there's a clip right here in the way it's not moving. And you want to get right close to where the clip is when you start popping it loose. And as you pry it apart, you can start seeing where the clip is. And once you get the first clip popped, like that, then there's a couple of ways you can do. You can just continue going around with your body tool, or they also have this kind of a tool which works real well as also to be able to get to them. But you have to kind of find the clips if you're going to use this kind of a tool. and it works really nicely. And you can kind of find where the clips are as you go around, and just kind of see where you hit. Oh, that clip's up there. Come on. There it goes. Okay. So anyway, we're going to just go ahead and pull the rest of this panel apart, and then we'll show you what we need to do next. So now that we've got all the clips loose, just need to kind of work it up, and the door will come out. Make sure that you don't get the electrical stuck in any of the cracks and crevices there, so it comes out nicely. So that's taking the door panel off, and you'll notice that on this door we have a clip here that didn't pop properly. It kind of gave way here. We also have one up here that stayed in the door. So these will have to be replaced. We've got replacement ones. They're fairly readily available. So we'll put those in when we put the panel back on. All right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to remove the speaker. Now, the speaker is mounted into this plastic holder. The plastic holder, even though it's screwed into the frame, is actually glued really tightly to this plastic weather barrier. And we're going to remove the plastic weather barrier, but as you can see, the speaker is in the way of being able to get the weather barrier off of there. You'll notice that the speaker is melted into a plastic mounting holder. The plastic mounting holder, even though it has screws holding it to the frame, is actually glued to the plastic vapor or weather barrier, and we need to get this off here, take these screws out, but we're going to leave that plastic attached to the weather barrier when we take it out and take out this weather barrier. The screws aren't in there very tight. They're actually fairly, I can just take a driver, a hand driver, to pull them out. You don't need a ratchet because you don't want to tighten them up too tight when you put them back in. So just go ahead and take those 4 out. Then there'll be a electrical connector. Now there's a alignment pin that can be a little bit stubborn getting off of there to keep it aligned. You'll notice the electrical connector is on the top. So you just push down on the clip there. So you want to push down on that clip right there and wiggle that out of there. Now you've got your speaker separated. Now set this somewhere really safe, because if you damage any of the speaker mechanism, you're going to be really disappointed in the sound you get out of that speaker. So now we'll go ahead and remove these screws here. And there's only 3 of them. They've got a lot more holes, but there's only 3 of the 3 mounting spots on this speaker holder. And again, we're not going to take the plastic speaker holder off of the vapor barrier. You'll notice there's some extra in there, but you'll notice this is pretty tight. But now at least it'll allow us to go ahead and remove the vapor barrier, which is our next activity. So to remove the vapor barrier, you don't want to just grab it and start yanking. You've got a really soft glue that's in here that's going to be reusable. So if you do this right, you can reuse the old glue that's already on there. So what you want to do is start taking and pulling it just a little bit, and then take a box cutter and just start very gently just working your way along the glue line and letting the box cutter start separating it. And you can see how nice that comes apart. And then at the end, when you're all done, you can just, and we'll show you that, you can just stick it back together again and it'll re-glue itself. So this is how you want to take the vapor barrier off, or the moisture barrier, whichever you want to call it. It's called both. So anyway, so we're going to take the vapor barrier off. Now the only other thing I recommend is be careful not to get your hands on it, because it will stick to you, and try not to rub up against it so as it stays nice and soft. Additionally, figure out where you're going to put this vapor barrier, because you don't want to just drop it on the ground, have it blow around. My preference on situations like this is I open the rear hatch and I just lay it into the rear hatch, and then it's nice and flat and it's not going to go anywhere, and it'll preserve everything for you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and remove this, and we'll get back at you after we get the vapor barrier off. So before you put on the new regulator, it's always a good idea to make sure that it actually works. So before you disassemble anything any further, you want to pull the clip out of here, because this is the motor clip that runs the motor. Hook it up to your new regulator. Take and connect your switch. And make sure that this regulator actually runs. So we're watching this actuator there, and sure enough, it runs. Okay? So that way we know that before we put anything in, that we have good parts that we're working with. So we'll go ahead and get started on taking things apart. We're going to take the window loose, take the regulator out, and then we're going to pull the window and replace the window runner, and then we'll put the window back in, put the regulator back in, or put the regulator back in, then the window back in, and then we'll be good to go. So we've rolled the window all the way down. We're going to just now grab the old window runner and just start ripping it out of there. You notice how it's breaking apart, but you want to get it up out of the edge here, and we'll just kind of take everything off. And you can start taking some of the stuff out of here, and it'll break up too. Now we've got the window all the way down, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the window up to a point where we can get at the screws to take the window loose from the window regulator, and then we can work the window out of there. So now we need to take the bolts out of the window regulator that hold the window in place. So we've taken the one off already, we're taking the other one off. And you'll notice that's a nice lip to kind of sit on the ears of the window regulator. So we're gonna just finish getting the bolt out of here on this side, and then we can one out of there. Okay. All right, so now gently kind of let the window sit on those ears. All right, so then you can start lifting the window up. So you push the window, we push the window back in here as far as we could, and then we could take it out of the slot here. We could take it out on this side, on that slot there, and then that gives us enough room to kind of work with the window to get it all the way out. So that's how you remove the window. So you can see all the fine dust and crap that's accumulated over the years on the bottom part here. And so that's, you know, that's in the regulator as well. So that's why you want to replace the regulator when you do the window runners. And so we'll clean this up and make it all look real nice and new, and when we put it back in together. So the next thing has to come out is this bar here, this seal piece. Now it doesn't really have to come out. But the main reason we're taking it out is because we do have replacement, and so we'll have a brand new nice soft seal out here. Now the metal have little bends in it that bend up that catch on this edge here, and so it can be a little bit tough getting it out, especially if you're trying to save it, but just work at it and get it out as best as you can. One of the first things you need to do is go ahead and disconnect the power from the regulator. So that's this clip right here. So pry that up gently and pull it out. Now the replacement regulator comes with this electrical connection right there. So you can go ahead and it has the clip on it, at least the one that we got. So you can go ahead and get in there and pop that sucker out of there. It's in there pretty tight. So that gets that out of there. Then you can clip this connection here, and you'll have to zip tie it back into place. So that takes care of getting that loose. And now we're going to start taking the bolts out. Now you'll notice that on the regulator, you've got a slide bolt here for adjustments. You've got a solid nut bolt here and a solid bolt here, and this one slides in. So when you put it back in, it's easier to leave this one in or to put this one in the new one and just slide it through the slot. So we're going to just start loosening everything up. All right, so you want to get your electrical cable back out through the hole here. Now the nice thing about the OEM one, if you want to spend that much money, which is a couple $100, is that they've got these little tabs that will support the system here so that you don't have to support it with the bolts, but it doesn't matter, it's not that hard to deal with. So we're now going to take the bar out, reach up in here and hook that loose, then rotate it, and we now have it out. As we look at this one, the OEM, because this is original from the factory, I've never replaced this regulator. You notice they've got a couple of washers on this side, so clearly they were compensating for some misalignment. If you have something like that on the OEM one that you take out, be sure you match that when you put the new one in. Otherwise, you'll have some kind of a twist or a misalignment that'll make the window a little hard to go up and down. All right, so we're going to go now and take these off and get the new one and install the new one, and we'll show you how that goes. All right, so to put the window regulator in, you'll notice that we did put those washers. We did put those washers on there and taped them on. So now slide this in. We'll come up here, grab the electrical cord, bring it through so we don't forget that. We'll go ahead and start positioning everything. So the first thing we're going to do, once we have things more or less positioned, is we're going to get one screw started on the regulator motor, just to kind of hold that overall in place, because we don't have the little hooks that we had before. Gonna then bring the bar, and we're going to put the screw in here. And pop that up through there. And we can take and get a screw started down here on the bottom. And now we pretty well have things in place. So now it's just a matter of putting in the rest of the screws, tightening things up. We've got all the bolts tightened up. We're now going to put the electrical back in place. They've got that snap right there for us. We'll take and run this back in behind the harness. And, well, I don't know. It's tough to tell how the best way to get this. That harness is right in the way. But I guess we'll see about going in like that. So then we'll take the zip tie and we'll run it from there to there, because we don't have the little tiny cable holder right there. So we'll just kind of move that up there like that. Don't want to make it too tight, just kind of keep it out of the way there. All right, So now I guess the moment of truth has come. We know it works, but now let's just make sure nothing's binding as we run it up and down inside the door. All right, now we're not going to run it all the way top and bottom because the window's not in there, so we don't want to overrun it. We want to just make sure that we don't have any binding or it's not hitting anything and seems to run fairly free. Then we're going to stop right there in the middle so that when we put the window in, we can get at the bolts to put the window, or to cinch the window back up onto the regulator. All right, so everything looks good at this point. So now we're going to go ahead and start putting in the window runner, and we'll show you the little trick to putting in the window and the window runner here as we go. All right, so now we're going to start putting in the window runner. Start getting it into the slot. Now this stuff here, you just pinch and slide it into the groove there. So you get that started there. Get this up here, and then you can start working it into place, making sure that everything is nice and flush. And you only want to go about halfway. You don't want to go too far because we want to now you put it in the window. And yeah, it's kind of a two-person operation because you want to hold this in place. Now, if you're a one-person operation, you can just take and run a piece of masking tape right here to kind of hold that in place, because we want this out of the way to get the window into this slot over here. Yeah. All right, so as you put the window in, you notice that we're putting it in and we're overlapping this area here. So then we're just gonna just start working it down, and then once we get it down into the slot, we can bring it over and then get it lined up back into this area here, and that'll allow us to take it down to where the window regulator is and line up the bolts. So now we're going to put the window in, tighten the bolts, and then we'll roll the window down and finish putting in the window runner. So resting the window on the ears of the regulator, we can now put the bolts in. And these are fairly tight screws, so you don't want to get them in there and kind of cinch it up nice and easy, and then you want to get a ratchet on there and give it a good tug. There's a torque spec on it, but I haven't looked up the torque spec. I just know that when we took them out, they were really, really tight. But even at that, you want to still be careful about over tightening as well. All right, so there we've got the window in nice and tight, and now we're going to put the rest of the window runner in, but first thing we're going to do is drop the window all the way down. So for this phase, it's really best if you have someone helping you, so as you get all the items aligned properly on the frame. Get it up tight into the corner. Make sure you've got everything cinched up nice. And then, yeah, I think you're in the way, Dave, of the camera. So then what you do at this point is, now that the window's down, you go ahead and start running the window, start running the window runner down into the slot. And you can see it'll slide reasonably well. Then again, make sure that you've got all the items out of the way. Make sure things are all tight and nice and firmed up in there. This is where having two people work on it really helps. Okay. So that's how you put the window in. So the window runner goes partially in, and then you leave it out, get the window in place, and then you can slide the window runner down past the glass. So just for grins, before we put the rest of the pieces together, we're going to go ahead and run the window up and down and make sure it slides nicely into the in the groove. All right, so now we're going to run the window up and run it down, and you notice it runs real nice up and down. Now the window runner track has not been lubed yet, and we'll lube that in a little bit, and then that'll make it go even a little bit better. But the next thing we're going to do is we got to put on this trim piece out here, and then we'll be ready to assemble the door panel on the inside. All right, so now we're going to put in the new window seal on the outside. Now this hard plastic cover here goes over the top of this one, and this slightly hard plastic cover just barely covers this guy over here. So we need to put it in this way and then pull it back just a little bit to get it covered over there. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to just slide it down and make sure we get it into the slot. We're going to start working it down. Now I've got to get it to clip, but again, before we clip it too tight, make sure you get it all the way over. Now you notice we still have a gap here where the bar has to clear, so I need to keep working it over a little bit more. And now we can bring it down. It'll be over the edge of this, and we can start putting it into place. Now, in order to keep you from getting this all over the place and having it bend back and forth, I recommend you take some place where it's obvious and just lightly put it in place. You can see how this matches right there. That kind of holds it and keeps it from doing exactly what it did there, folding in on itself. Feed your electrical through the hole, line up your speaker into its alignment hole there, and then you can start working your way around and putting it, and you might have to stretch a little bit here and there, but it'll start sealing up against itself really nicely as you go. Just make sure you touch all the spots so that it pushes into the glue, and that's about all you need to do to put that back in and have it reseal itself. So we've now got the vapor barrier in. It looks like we've got all of the glue spots properly glued together. So remember, there was only 3 spots, and you notice what I did there. This is kind of a subtle thing that a lot of people don't know about, but if you go backwards on screw threads, you know, not machine threads, but screw threads, you go backwards, you see it popped right there, and that lines it up with the previous screw threads, so you're not continually driving new threads. You know, a lot of people just throw them in there and run their power driver and just keep tearing up the holes, but I like to kind of keep the holes fresh, so you just kind of go backwards until you hear that little pop, and then it goes right in where the old threads were. So if you remember, this one only had 3. So if you remember, the electrical connection was at the top, so we'll just put that back in. Then we have an alignment pin right there, and we'll get that lined up. And then while we kind of hold it gently and not put our finger through anything, we'll just get a screw started. To kind of hold it in place while we put in the rest of the screws. And remember, these don't need to be very tight. All right, so now we got the speaker in, the vapor barrier in, so now we're ready to put the panel in. So if you remember when we took the panel off, that we had two clips that we had to replace. They both stayed in the door. So these are actual Nissan clips. You can get equivalent ones, just make sure they match the size and shape and everything else. So now we're going to go ahead and put the door panel back on, get our electrical at least into the handle area there so that you don't have to really pop it up, just have to be sure it's in there. And then you want to kind of really tilt it and kind of work it down. Make sure it lines up all the way around. Then you want to start looking to see where your clips are and make sure your clips are lined up for the holes, and then you can start popping them in. But you want to make sure that you've got them lined up for the holes. And once you have them all lined up and popped in, then you've got your door panel on nicely. All right, so now we're going to put the bolts on. Kind of help keep the door on, or the door panel on. You might say, why do you need to have bolts to keep the door panel on with all those clips? I don't know, but it just seems like a good idea. So that puts those two on. Again, they don't need to be very tight, just get them just snugged up so your door panel doesn't chatter. Okay, so now we're going to hook up the electrical for the switch panel, part of the armrest. Put that in. And last thing we need to do is put our trim piece in around our door handle. And now we have one complete door all put together. We appreciate you watching this video. We've shown you how to replace the window runners, and that has to do with removing the door panel. You also have to remove the window regulators in order to get that done. And so we also replace the window regulators. So hopefully that has helped you to figure out how to do that yourself. It makes a big difference on the performance of your car. So thank you very much for spending your time with us. Please click the like and the subscribe buttons, and we'll have a list of parts in the description below. Have a good day, and thank you much.